So in the last video I covered the Python interpreter and how it works, as well as comments that you can sort of pepper throughout your code and doc strings for multi-line annotations too. In this episode we're going to cover the next parts of the documentation. So if I just pull up the browser and go to Python here, yeah, that should be good. Today we're going to focus on viewing Python as a calculator, but I'm going to focus specifically on operators, and then in the next video I'll focus on the numeric data types that can allow you to kind of interact, although there will be overlap between this video and the next. So yeah, while I am trying to plan this stuff more, I don't want to over plan, so we'll keep things free flowing and see what comes out of it. So if you have Python installed, you can type Python and it will open up the Python interpreter. You can see the version here, and I discussed what the interpreter means and what this means. So if you want to know more details about the interpreter, then please look at my previous video. And I'm going to also leverage what we have covered so far. So I'm going to write a comment to provide a title. So Python as a calculator. That is going to be our title. So there are four main operators. There are more, but four main ones. The basic arithmetic, you guys have learned it in school, and unless you've been living under a rock, you should be very familiar with what these mean, but I'm going to show you what they mean within the context of Python. So very simple, 1 plus 1, and if I press enter, it will give me an output of 2, because that is indeed what 1 plus 1 means. In Python you can also do this, and you can do this, right? It ignores white space, because the white spaces from a token perspective have no value in Python, and therefore it ignores anything. It just looks for the next sort of actual character, even though white spaces count as a character, but a character that holds some sort of inherent value. In this case, a piece of data, an operator, and then the second piece of data, and therefore those two interacting with each other within the context of this operator, and Python reads that as a numeric value, another numeric value, and this specific operator instructing Python and therefore C, and then therefore the machine, to add 1 and 1 and provide 2 as a response. We can also do subtraction, so 1 minus 1, that equals 0, and the same lexical structure that I explained applies here. So 1 minus 1 also gives you 0, regardless of how you choose to type it. Multiplication is the third one. So let's give a better example. 2 times 3 will give you 6, and 6 divided by 3, right, that's the fourth operator, that will give you 2. Now notice how it says 2.0 as opposed to just 2. I'm not going to go into too much detail, I'm going to explain this in the next video, but this is effectively data types, and these are integers, and this is a floating point. In a nutshell, if you add two integers together, if you add two whole numbers together, you're guaranteed to get a whole number. If you subtract two whole numbers together, you're guaranteed to get a whole number. If you multiply two whole numbers together, you're guaranteed to get a whole number. But if you divide two whole numbers, you may get a decimal point number as a response, and therefore Python defaults to a floating point, or if you're coming from another programming language like C++, then it would be a double as opposed to a floating point. But yeah, anyway, that's kind of that. Python as a calculator. So I'm just going to stick with these operators, plus, minus, subtraction, and division. Let's look at what you can do with this. You can combine operators in the same expression. So 1 plus 3 plus 6, right? That equals 10. So it doesn't just have to be one number and another number, and that's the only limit. It's actually limitless. You can do 7 plus 3 times 8 minus 5 divided by 2 plus 1, and that's going to give you a valid number. I've kind of made this messy on purpose to really nail it, to drive the point home, the spacing and, you know, how they're positioned, as long as they are sequential in a logical form. How far apart the numbers are doesn't really matter too much, but of course you wouldn't want to do this. It looks ugly. So there is a style guide. Pepe is the name of it, and there's a typical sort of convention as to how you should follow, and it's common sense. You ideally want to separate things with a space. I'm not going to digress too much into that, but yeah. So one thing I'd like to point out here is that in addition to operators and the fact that you can chain multiple operators in the same expression, the operators also have a hierarchy. So certain operators and the numbers that sit between them are prioritized over others. And for those of you who are good enough at maths, basic math, you will understand that the hierarchy of these operators is consistent with arithmetic principles. So BODMAS, if you come from like a English primary school or secondary school, so multiplication and division are prioritized over additions and subtractions, and so therefore when Python reads this expression, it's going to group these together and it's going to group these together. So, you know, 3 times 8 is 24, 5 divided by 2 is 2.5, and it's going to subtract those and it's going to add 7 and add 1, therefore giving you 29.5. You can also do this sort of further by wrapping them in parentheses, and the example I believe is given here. So you can actually do, you know, 2 plus 3 if you want, if 2 plus 4. If you wanted to prioritize this, then you'd have to wrap it in brackets, just like how you would in actual maths, and then times 3, so 2 plus 4 is 6, times 3 is 18, and that will give you 18 as a result. If I removed this, then it will give me 14 instead of 18, because Python by default is prioritizing this as you would in any sort of mathematical expression. And yeah, that's all I'm going to cover today. Hope you enjoy, guys. And subscribe and like and all that.